First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizer for inviting me to participate in this important moment discussion concerning the innovation in the agricultural sector. Let me say that for us as a young farmers, it's much more easy to think about to innovate and to reshape the agricultural sector when we set up a farm. Even because a person like me, for example, that I'm not from a family of farmers, I set up a farm, start from nothing. So for me, it's very easy to take a decision in the innovative way. It's a bit less easy for my colleagues who has already a farmer and who has already a dad or a grandfather who try to explain what is the best way to produce and to maintain the farm and the activity and into the market. But I would like also to thank you because personally I do believe that we can reshape the agricultural sector only if we talk and we talk each other and we know each other what you can suggest to us and what are our needs. If we can create like the presentation that was explained very well before concerning the EIP, the operational group approach, I think we can try to find the best way to find a solution for the future of the agricultural sector in EU. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm a farmer, as I said. I'm Italian, I live in Umbria, and I cultivate truffle in Umbria in an innovative way, and later on maybe I will explain much better what does mean for me. SIGA is an EU umbrella organization who represents around 2 million of young farmers across Europe with 31 members from 24 EU member states. The aim of SIGA is to provide a single voice for all European young farmers to the EU institution in order to shape the agricultural policy framework by forging direct links between policymakers and young farmers, as well as providing a platform for information, education, and exchange between young farmers. SIGA reaches out to those young farmers on ground across European rural and remote areas in order to promote and facilitate the civic engagement of those who need representation at EU level. Young farmers, in particular, for the data that you already maybe knows, need representation at EU level because they require policy measures to address the specific difficulties surrounding entry to the agricultural sector, such as lack of access to land, credit, high investment with a low return in the first year of businesses, and the legal and financial difficulties of farm succession. With the aim of obtaining increased policy tools to tackle these challenges and to increase young farmers' numbers within the European population, SIGA provides 2 million young people from across the Union with one unified voice. But let me inform you that at EU level, the young entrepreneurs under 35 years old are only 7% concerning the more than 1/3 over 65 years old. So have to be discussed at EU level and try to find, even with the innovation, the best way to have in the future much more percentage of young farmer into the agricultural sector. This is also the reason why later on I will try to say what does mean for me innovation. That is not only IT, but a network and a platform like SIGA is essential in order to promote civic engagement among EU agricultural youth, particularly to help young people overcome the financial constraints that may stand in the way of the civic engagement, just as they stand in the way of setting up a farm. As you know, food demand is projected to escalate by up to 50% by 2013, and this is due to a number of factors. First of all, most importantly, an ever-growing world population expected to hit 10 billion by 2015, and including an increasing growing middle class in countries with substantial population as India and China. And this middle class growth will put even more pressure on our global primary resources as demand for meat and dairy products rocket. This is the intensive sustainability that maybe we have to think about it. At the same time, pressures are also escalating on the environment, as we can see depicted by the climate change and other developments. This means we must start producing more food from fewer resources. With this in mind, EU agricultural policy must focus on increasing employment opportunities in the sector by facilitating entry to it and promoting innovation and additional vocational education and training geared toward more efficient and productive agriculture. It is clear what I said, that young farmers should be the target for all these elements. From Eurostat, European young farmers have been proven to be more productive, more innovative, and more sustainable than their older counterparts. This means that they can produce more food from the same amount of resources, which epitomizes the challenges which farmers will have to overcome in the future. Young farmers tend to have more efficient farm and employ more labor. They are good for the rural economy, in turn with the innovative farming techniques and modern technology, as well as good business practices, marketing, multifunctional and much more, and so on. All this is likely to be down to their academic qualification, as well as their determination and enthusiasm. Young farmers have made it clear that they can make a difference to the future of farming. We just have to help them to get into a position where they are able to. SIGA was particularly approving the new European Innovation Partnership for the agricultural productivity and sustainability introduced by the CAP. Like it was explained before, EIP focused exclusively on innovation within the sector by forming operational group of both academics and farmers in a bid to encourage cooperation for a more productive and sustainable sector for the benefit of all. The EIP aims to foster a competitive and sustainable agricultural sector which achieves more from less. SIGA has high hopes and expectation of the EIP Agri. This is particularly considering its implementation bring together a number of different funding streams in order to achieve one object, the agricultural innovation. Innovation is a key driver for change and the way to turn challenges into opportunities and concrete improvements on the ground. Agriculture is a sector which holds many opportunities for growth, yet also often relies heavily on age-old techniques, notably because of the age imbalance in the farming population. For this reason, it is crucial that young farmers are targeted directly by the EIP, as they are the most likely to take the advantage of the innovation opportunity offered by partnership. In this moment, I would like also to say just a few words that we were one of the first European organizations who immediately had a good reaction on the EIP program. But I have to say that in the last focus group that was open, it seems that the Commission has started to change their volunteer on the young farmers, because they create a new operational group. We started to talk with the Commission concerning the young farmers and how we can have much more young farmers into the agricultural sector, but the focus group changed the name, and not anymore in the young farmers, but in the new entrants. Maybe this is also for the economical problem situation at EU level, but for me, a new entrants, it doesn't mean that are young. And I don't know how much is good to focus and to put some resources and in investment for a short term. I would like to strongly recommend that maybe the young farmers could, as I said before, from the Eurostat data, they could bring some employment who can help them in the farm. They can create a collaboration between senior and younger, but put some European funds on the new entrants. Personally, I don't think it will be a good opportunity for growth and for job, maybe for job, but not for growth for the agricultural sector, to innovate the agricultural sector. This is something that I would like also to say that SEIJA has been involved in the EIP since its conception, and we had participating in the elaboration of its strategic agenda. I was in charge as a SEIJA president on the high-level steering committee who create all the guidelines for the EIP and for the research Horizon 2020. Now I'm involved as an expert in the focus group on innovative short food supply management, and we are working closely with the EIP team in order to get more young farmers involved in the focus group, which will be set up in the future. Now we are waiting for the national implementation of the operational group. Of course, the EU member states and region have a crucial role to play supporting in the operational group. The rural development regulation offers a catalogue of measures intended to help member states and regional authorities set up their 2014-2020 rural development programs. So we need to be prepared on our rural development program in order to propose an effective project for establishment of an operational group. But another thing that I would like to share with you is also the information that I put on the meeting, on the last meeting on the high-level steering board committee, where I said that it is useful to create a European network where, if there are operational groups who want to focus on beef or other things, they first of all have to understand if there are any others who already had the same research. Otherwise, we cannot think about the northern part of Italy who are studying and researching something that is the same on the Austrian part they did. So this is a waste money, and we should try to work in the best way and to be much more sustainable also in this, and to be much more innovative. This is also the reason why personally I like very much to see that in Italy at national level they create guidelines, but what I am a bit surprised is that research is at the end, every region can decide by their own what they want to spend, what they want to put. I don't think this is a way to work together in a way to have a better agricultural sector at national level. I would also like to underline that research in university or laboratories must pass through the testing on the farms. Otherwise, it will remain a research for its own sake that will never bring concrete benefit to the sector. We need to change the traditional view of innovation in agriculture, in which agricultural research creates technologies that are transferred to agricultural producers for subsequent adoption. In this view, the needs, experience, and knowledge of the end user of innovation are not taken into consideration. This perspective, it is no longer capable of addressing the current challenges of the agricultural sector. It is necessary a non-linear approach to innovation, but a bottom-up approach with farmers included as relevant sources of knowledge. In this multi-actor model of innovation, knowledge is no longer transferred linearly from a scientist to farmer, but is created together in a process of knowledge sharing and co-production. For this reason, in a bid to exchange ideas and best practices for a more innovative and sustainable agricultural sector, the EIP could grow into an important and useful tool. Agriculture without research and innovation, it is no longer able to meet the criteria of environmental sustainability and economic needs. Finally, the innovation, it is not only linked to the products or the productive methods. We need to reshape the agricultural sector and our way to develop our business. As a young farmers, we are thinking innovation needs to be adopted also in the management of at our farms, in selling of our production, in the communication tools, and in the relationship with the consumers. We need to develop new distribution channels using internet and by shortening the distance between producer and consumer. I'm not talking the short food supply chain in the mean local, not only local, but also to link the producer into the consumer. For just an example, I sell my product directly to Miami, but this is not short in a certain way, but the buyer in Miami, they know me, they see my face, and when they buy something, they know that it came from a farmer directly. So this is what I have in my mind, what I think is good to do. Another tool that needs to be implemented is the farm business network, a way that can help our family farm to survive in a more challenging and competitive economic context, maintaining at the same time their autonomy and identity. Innovative and a big barrier for young farmers. As I said before, concerning the access to land and credit, there are in Europe some best practices that we can support in order to find innovative ways that can solve the two biggest obstacles faced by young farmers when they try to enter into the sector. And also, because we had last week, 10 days ago, we had a discussion in Brussels concerning the fertility of soil and concerning the food waste. And we invited some experts and also from DG Envy. And what they said is that mainly who can take care about the soil is the owner of the soil. So for this reason, the new generation need to have a bit more than normal rental contract if we want to preserve the soil and the fertility of the soil. Talking about some way who can be helpful for the young farmers. In France, there are two important tools. that could help the young farmers. One is the SAFER, and the other one is Terre de Liens. SAFER is a no-profit company with the mission of general interest under supervision of the Ministry of Agriculture and Finance. Today there are 26 SAFER that cover the French territory, and SAFER have now over 50 years of experience in the field. One of the key actions of SAFER is to encourage young farmers to have access to land by buying and selling the land. In selling the land, the priority is given to young farmers. And Terre de Liens is a social economy enterprise that buys farm to reduce the loss of agricultural land in the difficulties of access to agricultural land. These land are then leased to farmers starting their activities, and this is something that is really important. To acquire these farms, Terre de Liens create tools, or so-called foncière. The foncière capital consists of saving of citizens who have chosen to invest in community projects, a sort of crowdfunding initiative. And personally, I think these or other projects, in order to understand how we can reduce the lack of access to land, have to be started at EU level to create an initiative in order to understand how we can also avoid the land grabbing. Because I was talking last September in front of the Ministry of Agriculture for the European Informal Council of Ministry of Agriculture, and I will explain to them that last year in April, in 2014, yes, there was a Chinese investment fund who arrived in France, and they bought something like 30,000 hectares of land. I mean, in the first approach, it doesn't mean that we have to be scared about this, because we are in a free market. But the problem is that from January 2015, they are trying to use this 30,000 hectares of land just to producing milk powder for the Chinese market. That means that if we want to talk about land and say that we have to leave the market to regulate everything, maybe with the cost of the land, with the problem and the lack of access to credit for the young generation, for the new generation, maybe only just the big investors, the big funds can buy a land in EU. And we can have a big problem in 2013 or 2015, because maybe we have no land for our production, or we have not enough land, like is already not enough land for our production. So young farmers have the responsibility of feeding the world of tomorrow. However, they will not be able to do this unless they are supported in their endeavors to innovate their techniques, whether this be with information, education, advice, or financial investment and assistance. Young farmers are ready to meet the challenge of feeding a growing population with dwindling resources, but they must be supported in their effort, as it is already difficult enough to enter the sector and stay afloat in it, let alone while preserving natural resources at the same time. It is therefore imperative that interlinkage are formed at policy level to mirror the ones we find in nature, links between food, water, energy, climate, and more. All-encompassing challenges demand all-encompassing solutions, and that means information and education for both consumers and farmers about water use and food waste and food-water waste, support for younger educated people to get themselves established in the EU agricultural sector, and financial support for investment into sustainable technologies and techniques. Concerning my experience, as I was saying before, as a farmer, a few years ago on my farm in Umbria, I worked with the researcher with the University of Perugia to develop a new way to cultivate truffle. And together we set up technology on my land which could analyze the soil data. This is something good for the environment, this is sustainable for the economic way, and maybe in the future, if everything goes well, also for the social way. Because together we set up this kind of sensor on the soil, and this analysis would include detail on water content, nutrients level in the soil, and so on, up to 5 times an hour. This information would then guide me in terms of irrigation of the land and other inputs. This is not only help to bring down the amount of resources used, but also reduce the time it had previously taken to grow truffle, because normally you have to wait from 6 to 10 years, and in this way we are trying to get and to arrive with after 6 years to have a good production of truffle. And this contributed to a successful truffle farm and agritourism establishment with the future of as a truffle school. So put together multifunctionality as a truffle production, didactical activities, and also hospitality. And all together, I think this can give much more effort to me and to my family and into my farm, even because otherwise it's quite difficult to live up into the hill where I am, where there are many wild animals and many problems for my production. So what I can say, I hope that EIP will encourage this kind of fruitful cooperation between different innovation actors, and that others like me will be able to experience the benefit which come from such important partnership. Once again, I would like to thank you, all of you, for listening to me, and for the organizer for inviting me to participate in this debate, and I look forward to discussing for this issue for the future. Thank you.